I promise you, I'm bringing you brand new content with Adam Benshman about solar.
I don't believe in selling just solar systems. I don't.
It's not legal. It's a borderline legal. They're getting away with it. Nobody's going to jail.
One of the number one reasons for cancellation on a solar system is an old roof.
This episode is brought to you by Maxx. Average life expectancy of a roof in the United States is about 15 to 18 years, depending on the market. Maxx helps to extend that life expectancy 5 years with every treatment. I highly recommend Maxx. Do not replace that roof if you can get 5 to 10 years more out of it. Your roof is probably dry, brittle right now, but with the treatment of Maxx, you can soften it, you can reseal the sealants that are baked in asphalt shingles. I highly recommend Maxx. Find the local dealer near you by going to directory.com. That's the list with all Maxx dealers that I personally recommend and back up with my own money, or go to roofmax.com. Now let's go back to Adam Benshman and talk solar. Enjoy. Adam, welcome back to the show. Different time, different year. Different show. It's a it's a business hats podcast, not a roofing insights anymore. I absolutely love this format. You wear quite a few business hats. How many hats do you wear? What's new for you in 2023? What is it? List everything you do today, so our listeners and our audience know who you are if they don't yet.
Yeah. Well, Dimitri, first, it's so exciting to be back again in a different format. For those that don't know me, my name is Adam Benshman, the roof strategist, and my mission is to help roofing sales reps smash their income goal, give every customer an amazing experience. And I do that by providing an all-in-one sales training and sales system currently being used by many, many, many thousands of folks. We're in every state in the US, even Canada and Australia, and offer that in a really affordable way to get started. And for folks who are looking for mentorship or a mastermind, we also run a group called the Pitch Pro Movement. And new in 2023, something we'll be talking about is our brand new solar sales system that I've been developing behind the scenes for the last year. I have my new book, The Roofing Sales Survival Guide, being published this quarter. I'm done writing it. It's in editing, book design's done, and just launched our first guest course on the platform with Drew Suttle on supplementing. So that's the fast version. And the best place to get started in my world is for free on our free training center, which is available at theroofstrategist.com/free, or text the word free to 303-222-7133.
Love it. It was a mouthful for you, but you're so organic and so natural in that. I want to start with what you mentioned there. So you said that your goal is to increase revenue, income, and I love it. I just did a piece on how much people make in this industry. And in the roofing industry, painters, trades, average income is about $48,000. That's according to statistics, what people bring home. Obviously, in sales, people make a little bit more. What would you say average sales rep makes in roofing? And you mentioned you're going into solar, and we're going to talk a lot about solar today. I want to make the whole episode about solar. So, guys, if you're in the roofing industry, I promise you, I'm bringing you brand new content with Adam Benshman about solar. I don't know nothing about it. Adam is getting into solar. Let's talk about it. Let's start with the income opportunities. Roofing sales, solar sales.
You know, that's a can of worms that once we pop open, there's no resealing. And the reason, let me just paint this disclaimer. First, let me give you the numbers, and then I'm going to disclaimer the numbers for all the hate comments that will come in. My guess is average low end 75,000 to 200,000, I think is a reasonable tier with and I know that's a big range, but if an employee W-2, they're going to have payroll taxes taken out, et cetera. And a 1099 commission salesperson is going to earn more, but have a little bit more expenses and more tax deductions. It also goes down if you're a retail or storm, if you're self-generating leads, or if the leads are provided, if you have a company truck or not. So it's a big can of worms. I think it'd be very fair to say mid hundreds is what a roofing salesperson who's competent should be earning. And on the solar side, you've got guys that are doing $100,000 a month. Do I think that's common? The answer is no. It depends on the model and the type of the company. It's not a world that I love, to be frank. I very reluctantly came into solar. We'll get into all this because I was quite openly pretty anti not the solar technology, but solar in general. So really depends on who you ask, but you'll see a lot online, the 21-year-old guys driving a Lamborghini because he's been out knocking doors and made $1 million. But common, no, and the longevity of folks in that market, not super high. a lot of turnover.
How many people have you met in the roofing industry who've made $500,000 a year, like on a consistent basis, like year to year, 500,000 here, last 3 years, $500,000 a year?
There's only a few companies that I know. Like one of the companies I trained, they had a plaque in their basement, about 50 sales reps, and they had your $250,000 earner. And what was the next year? I think it's 400 and then 500. I want to say, I don't know why it started $250,000. It was 250, 400, 500, if my memory is right. But they had 3 or 4 people on the 500 board. I just brought on a team the other day.
It's how much they made or sold?
No, made. Gross income in the sales rep's pocket was over $500,000. They're about between 500 and 550. Not a lot. Usually when we're hearing those big numbers, they are either in a company that's paying the 50% commission or they're in a storm environment. So they're going crazy high volume. And many of those folks, this one guy in particular, by the way, was virtually all residential, but you will see some folks that landing some monster commercial deals, multi 6-figure deals or 7-figure deals where those commissions go up. But I would say it is not very common. I think that sweet spot, 100 to 350 is quite common. And the 250 to 350 is I would call the top few percent. And of course, you have the folks that have done $500,000 or more, up to $1 million and even higher. But I don't see that consistency. In fact, I went to dinner with these guys, and the guy that did 550 of personal income, the next year he dropped down to about 2 to 250. And distraction and comfort, I think, were the two big things. He got married and got distracted. And after your pockets are full, after a great year, some people lay off the gas.
Love it. What trades does it take to make $500,000 in solar or roofing? And would you say the solar sales are easier than roofing sales?
It's a good question. I don't believe solar sales are, this again is a can of worms, and I want to unpack this because there's a lot of the solar sale can often be easier once you're at the kitchen table when it's done right. I'm not a big fan. You'll hear as we go through this, I don't believe in selling just solar systems. I don't. And we'll talk about that. We have a very unique model that I know is not going to be a good fit for everybody. But when we think about solar, we just break down the model. It's knock the door. What's your energy bill? I can save you money. And as long as the numbers shake out, you get the deal, right? When it comes to roofing, I look at solar as an add-on, and selling roofing, depending again, if it's storm or retail, if you're selling both, you have 11 different scenarios to pitch to. 4 scenarios on storm, no claim, partial payment, denial, check in hand. Each of those have 2 mindsets. So if you knock on someone's door and they don't know they have damage, they're saying, what are you talking about? Or tell me how bad it is. Denial, check in hand is either, hey, we're good, insurance was out and denied us or paid for a partial, or they're irate, they deserve more, or they're sitting on a check. On the retail side, people replace their roof for 4 main reasons: age, end of its life, cosmetic, upgrade, active leak or problem, or planning ahead for a life event, which means a salesperson needs to be able to assess and present to 11 total scenarios, or 7 for storm and 4 for retail. So it's a more complex understanding of connecting with the customer. But what's funny is the solar sale itself is more complicated, but the hook in the message is pretty simple. Same thing with like pest control. You have bugs, we kill them. You have electric bill, we make it cheaper. Roofing, I got to know 11. So that's again, once you're at the kitchen table, it's a different ball game.
Got it.
Did that answer your question, by the way?
Yes, it did. But except you did not say what kind of trades does it take to make $500,000.
Oh, trades. Traits or trades?
Trait, like character. What kind of character it takes?
Character traits. Here's the top. One is relentless discipline. So those are actually 2 technically, right? Mm-hmm. Relentless is one, and then discipline is the other. I'm going to put them together in relentless discipline. The ability to stay on the gas all the time. Number 2 is organization. There's no one that's earning that kind of money that's not organized. Don't get me wrong. Things slip through the cracks. We make mistakes. But if you're one of those people that's like, this is your file cabinet and everything's on a piece of paper that's like on your windshield, you're never going to do it. So time management and organizational skills are absolutely mission critical to becoming a top earner, because one's ability to earn in roofing sales is not restricted by their sales skills. It's restricted by the time that they can invest in selling. So if you removed all follow-up from me, I'd go unleash sales on the world. But what bogs me down is the fulfillment side. So that's the biggest piece. But I think underlying at the heart of it all is a combination of soft skills of empathy, meaning to understand how people are feeling and connect with them in a real and authentic way. And that goes right hand in hand with genuine caring. Every single top producer that I've met truly cares about the customer and doing what's right. And the sale, like they've lost the thrill of the hunt because it's easy to make these sales. What drives them is the personal growth and the commitment to serving people in a really deep way and doing what's right by them. And that nonchalance detachment from the outcome removes the commission breath concept and allows them to serve with integrity and authority and be looked at as an advisor and not a people pleaser or a puppy dog. So kind of a combination of all of those is what I see among the top producers.
Love it. You just described someone that I know. I visited a company 2 years ago in Chicago, one of the biggest siding company in town. They have a guy who's been selling 4 million, 5 million a year worth of James Hardy siding every year. For the past 3-4 years, he's bringing home $500,000. And when I ask business owner, about that guy, describe him, and he's like, he's organized, he's on top of his game, consistent, like love it. It's exactly right. You mentioned that you were reluctant to solar. Why didn't you like solar? Why you didn't want to go, a couple of years ago? Because solar makes sense for roofing. And do you agree with that? It makes sense for roofing. And if it makes sense, why you were not, passionate about it from the get-go? Why pushing it away?
The reason I was pushing it away is people had been watching my YouTube channel and starting to make comments. Hey, I'm using this for solar. It's working really well. And then for the last couple of years, people have been saying, Adam, get into solar, get into solar. Well, I had two roadblocks. One, I don't have much technical knowledge on solar. That's my weakness, which is why I have a partner in this, which I'll share more about, Cody, in a little bit. But the other reason is I sat through solar presentations for my own home to start. I said, I want to experience this like a homeowner would. And I got to tell you, most of the mainstream, most common sales practices in solar, I didn't like the experience. And my wife sat in, and we actually did a few of them on Zoom and started exchanging glances and the kicks under the table of like, are you kidding me? They felt super forced, super gimmicky. You saw the same talk track in all of them, complete lack of transparency on the return, hiding like super important pieces of information that a consumer is going to need to know to make a smart decision, and the desire to just be like slap solar on everything. The economics didn't make sense. So I actually dropped a poll in one of the most popular Facebook groups for roofing company, in the roofing industry. And I put in there, for those of you selling solar, do you believe in the economics enough to put solar on your own home? And if at the time, of course, this has changed by now because you know how people find these things, but the last I saw it, 82% of the people said, no, I would not put it on my own house. So I'm sitting here, I have to believe in something that I sell. And it wasn't until I sat down with Cody, who originally approached me. He's like, dude, you got to move into solar. And I kept pushing him away. I'm like, no. So he's like, fly out to my office. I want to present solar to you. And it was the first time when he had done that I was like, holy crap. One, you presented it well. You covered all my objections. It felt transparent. So that captured my interest. So we rolled this out as a beta with a company, beta test, where they got my program, and then Cody flew out, and they virtually doubled their business, 80% growth. So from 1.2 million a month to 2.5 million a month. And it fluctuated.
A roofing company or solar company?
Roofing company. Yep. And then we rolled
What
it out
market?
as another beta. Go ahead.
What market?
Missouri.
Okay, so not California, not like okay.
No, not California. This is what I'd call an emerging solar market, and we rolled it out as a beta test with another company in the Midwest in Wisconsin, and have been testing this in the Pitch Pro movement. So, long and short of it, I didn't believe in the economics. I didn't like the sales approach, and quite frankly, I believe a lot of the practices in solar are criminal. And what I should have opened with is the fact that my own mother got completely taken advantage of. She's about 10 grand in the hole right now, retired on a fixed income because she got duped into a solar lease, had a storm claim, by the way. So the roof got paid, the solar system got paid to get detached and reset. And when they reset it, Then the next hailstorm came later that summer. So another claim, detached and reset. But this time, the company that sold her the lease was too busy to detach it. So they say, hey, go use someone else. We're authorizing it. The next person comes out, puts it back on, solar system doesn't work. She's put in the lease. This person's pointing fingers at this person, brand new roof. The lease company said, well, we got to remove the system. So now her brand new roof has 70 holes through the shingles. She was in the middle of a kitchen remodel and they just, squirt sealant in the holes. She's now trying to sue because she's got a solar payment she's paying every month, also paying her electric, had to come out of pocket $8,000 to get half of her roof done. My partner, Cody, actually did her roof. And she's still in a legal battle with no solar and paying for it. And when I started to see all this, like I felt a desire to bring solar to the market by plugging what I viewed as the predatory holes and eliminating the potential for sales reps going rogue, which we saw happen on the news of all of this stuff. You did a video on it.
Yep.
The predatory practices, changing stuff on loan docs, selling solar to homes with a 10-year-old roof. And I didn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. So that was why I was hesitant to get into this space and why now I feel very passionate and very excited about the right way to present solar only to the right people and how to integrate the two models so companies can thrive. And I'll share more on that. I don't want to get too ahead of myself here.
When I did my research, one of the biggest problems I have seen, what most popular programs out there are selling, was financing. How financing is the shaded. I don't know how it's legal because they're high. It's not legal. It's pretty much, it's a borderline legal. They're getting away with it. Nobody's going to jail, but they're hiding their fees. They're hiding they're tripling the cost sometimes. You know the saying, there's no school for roofers. There's no roofing school. Well, it's actually not true. There is a roofing school and it has been around for years, for a couple of years to be exact. It's online school for roofers, roofing-school.com. A roofing school helps roofers become better business owners because roofing business is not about roofing trade. You might be really good at installing shingles on top of the roof. It's good for you that you're not afraid of heights, that you're willing to work long hours, but that's not going to make you successful. Unfortunately, we respect the trade, we respect the workers, the crew, the installers, but those installers often fail when they don't know their numbers, when they don't understand the process, when they don't know how to present themselves and how to compete with the salespeople in the roofing industry. That's what roofing school is all about. I highly recommend roofing school. I started it a couple of years ago, but I'm not the only teacher. Inside roofing school, you will find a lot of content from companies that we travel to. We travel to over 100 companies, and we also have other teachers like Ben Minchaka, who passed away last year. Becca Switzer will teach you recruiting, and few others amazing speakers and trainers who will help you understand how to be successful in this game we call business. Because doesn't matter how good you are with your hands, with your hammer, how fast you install those shingles, if you don't understand accounting, if you don't understand sales, administration, you will for sure fail and become part of the statistics. Our goal is to help as many roofers to become successful contractors as possible. We already graduated over 300. It's online school. It's very affordable. Starts at just $49 for all content. We will help you with the forms, contracts, and at higher packages at $399 a month, we will create marketing materials for you. Unlimited graphic design will help you with flyers, vehicle wraps, yard signs, anything you need to be successful at the sale, at the door, and in your office. Sign up for roofing school today, and I will see you inside. So for the sales rep, it's $10,000 commission check, but that's why it doesn't make sense. Would you agree that financing solar is the biggest problem why it does not work economically?
I think it's a combination of things, and that's the biggest one. When we look at it, the reason that there are dealer fees is it avoids truth in lending practices. So if I were to purchase a home, I got to go through and I must know as a consumer like it's consumer protection. Hey, Dimitri, you're buying a house. Here's every single penny accounted for and why you're paying it. And the dealer fee skirts the whole issue and just says, hey, that way we don't have to tell anyone about it. We just charge the contractor, and they distance themselves. So it's a giant game. And the reality is when they say know what business you're in, McDonald's, Michael Gerber mentioned this in the ebook, the E-Myth Revisited, the book. And he says, know what business you're in. And McDonald's is not in the hamburger business. They're in the real estate business. And solar is arbitrage. That's it. Solar is arbitrage. How do I lend money to save money? So I'm leveraging cash to save cash. It's that simple. And it actually, I would say it makes sense for two reasons. In the government, I actually was just on the phone today with a federal employee that's heavily involved in this stuff, in the solar initiatives, in the new wave of legislation, the stuff that's yet to come. But at any rate, the tax incentives and the financing vessels are the only reason that solar makes sense. We just saw a whole wave of legislation in California that basically makes solar not financially feasible or make sense in California. But with the model that I believe is the most effective, which is a roof with solar combo, we're leveraging those loans to put together a roof solar combo. And it's actually more affordable when you choose the right financing vessel without dealer fees, which we can get into all of this. By bundling those together, you can present a retail estimate. Here's your roof. This is your payment plus your electric, versus here's a roof with solar. We're going into a solar loan, lower interest, longer terms, plus offsetting the electric. And it makes financial sense for the right person, not everybody. And that's the first thing that we touch. So I do think it's a combination of two things. And I think you and I both know that once tax credits go away, that margin is going to come out. With the 30% tax credit, people charge 30% more. And we will see, as soon as this tax credit changes, expires, renews, ups, goes down, we're just going to see the market shift with it.
How do you ruin everything in California? Like everything. I don't know when to start with California.
We'll be here all night, dude.
Everything they touch, they ruin. I mean, how do you ruin solar in California, whereas like this, they have the most sun. That's what they're known for the sun. And now it makes no sense to install solar system in California. Can you explain? Let's talk about markets then. Let's start with the California, why it doesn't make sense in California anymore, what have changed for our listeners. But also after that, what do you think is the good market? What states are great to do solar? I know Chicago have initiatives, but we're too far north. You mentioned Missouri. Like, what states are excellent for it? What states are stay away from?
Yep. It's a good question. When you look, there is, and I don't remember the website off the top of my head, it's bookmarked on my computer. You can look into how many solar systems are being installed per state, and you can compare that to the number of homes in that state. There are different kinds of markets when it comes to solar. You've got your saturated markets, Arizona, New Mexico, California, tons of sun, southern markets. Everyone knows about solar. Colorado is kind of meeting that front as well, because we get 300 days of sunshine here in Colorado. And you've got more emerging markets. Like we had this company we worked with in Wisconsin. There's like no one doing solar in central Wisconsin, but homeowners were asking for it. Same with Missouri. So these are more emerging markets. The answer of what market makes sense for solar, the way that I'm teaching, or that we're teaching, Cody and I are teaching to bring up solar, is actually looking at solar as an adder to the roof. So we're not doing a roof and. The key word is and. That's the problem. And I can go super deep, if you wish, on the and as the problem. We're not helping people become a solar company. I want nothing to do with being a solar company or helping people start a solar division, because that's not a division. It's just a separate company that happens to operate maybe under the same roof. What I believe is the best way to do solar is a roof with solar combination, which makes any homeowner who is not going to be selling their home within the next 5 years, has an electric bill of over $100, actually pays taxes, has ample sunlight on the roof, and has a roof that's not too cut up. That's a good candidate for solar. And putting a roof on with a solar system allows both systems to have the full longevity together. And what no one pencils out is, hey, save money on solar. Here's your ROI. Well, no one's telling you, even if it's a 7-year-old roof, they're calculating this ROI and selling all these savings. When that roof needs to get replaced, that's an extra $8,000 on average for detach and reset. So there's all your savings flushed out the window, and even if it's not all the savings, depending on the size and the ROI, that consumer, if you're having savings that are spread out over multiple years and you're saving a few 10, 20, 30, $50 a month, the person that chose to do solar didn't have the extra $8,000 to $10,000 or $7,000 to $10,000 to then detach and reset that solar system. And I think that that's predatory. I don't think it's fair. And I think that that ropes a homeowner into a very long-term financial commitment, not knowing the true consequences and the ROI. So to me, doing a solar system only makes sense within your roof. And to answer your question, to tie this all back in, what's a good market? The good market is the customer who qualifies for solar, who fits that criteria, and who's getting their roof replaced because there's no better time to do it. And the sunshine thing, Germany gets 188 sunshine days a year, I believe, if my memory is right. And they're the top solar producer in the world. Wisconsin gets 135 days of sun. So with the newer technology, they're able to produce energy through UV rays, not needing direct sunlight. So as the technology emerges, the markets I'd avoid, Alaska, and I would also avoid like South Dakota and North Dakota, because like no one knows about it there. Correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, someone in the comments. But generally speaking, pretty much anywhere. The new federal tax credit at 30%, increasing to 40% with domestically manufactured panels is really enticing. And most emerging markets in emerging states, Illinois to name one, has tons of state incentives, local incentives, county incentives, utility rate incentives. So at the end of the day, the 30% tax credit is really what's going to drive it, because that applies to everybody. And then local markets will vary. And I personally think that getting on the early wave in markets like Missouri, like Iowa, like Illinois, like Wisconsin, that aren't saturated with solar companies yet, this is the time to ride the wave before the big rush, because before you know it, every roofing company in America is going to be doing solar also, and it will become the most saturated market out there. And this is my opinion, by the way.
Sure. You mentioned actually pay taxes as your qualification for the homeowner. Is it because of the tax credits? Explain that.
Yeah. So what folks don't, there's a couple of nuances here that, again, fall into what I consider predatory. If you're, and I got to use a calculator because I'm horrible at math. So give me a second here. And by the way, if you're listening and watching and I screw up my math, just say, hey, this poor kid was in the same math class 4 years in a row, so cut him a break. So if I sell a $40,000 system, 30% tax credit is going to be $12,000. If my tax liability is not $12,000, I can extend that, and I have to double check. I don't remember if it's 3 or 5 years, but there's a number of years that you can apply that tax credit to. And I apologize, I don't remember that one off the top of my head. If you're on a fixed income, if you're drawn on Social Security and retirement income that's tax-free, and you don't have that tax exposure, then the economics don't make as much sense. So what happens is when you go through the loan process and it says, here's your monthly payment, there's a tiny little asterisk there that goes on the assumption that you, the homeowner, aren't actually going to keep that tax credit. You're going to take that $12,000 and apply it to the loan. And you've got an 18-month window to do that. And if you don't, they re-amortize it. And now that payment that they advertised shoots up. And then you have homeowners like, what the hell? You told me it'd be $220 a month and now it's $270 or whatever the number is. So if they're not paying taxes, it needs to be transparent that the tax credit in that whole, I'm going to call it a game because I think it's a giant gimmick of applying, you're like, here's all the savings. It's like the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Here's $12,000, but by the way, it's not actually yours. You're actually going to write a check to the bank, right? And that's the part that if you don't communicate, you'll sell a system to a retiree. You've got some 21-year-old who is trained on and by the way, no offense to 21-year-olds, by the way, I was 21 once. And you're just like, here's an opportunity to go make a $10,000 commission on every sale, go run out there. Their frontal lobe's not even developed yet. And they're out like, oh, I'll just tell them I got this. And they often weren't even trained properly or educated. So someone who doesn't have that tax liability can't take advantage of it. And now the system costs them a lot more and their monthly payment changes.
Got it. Question. Did you end up installing solar in your house after your research?
I haven't yet. I'm looking into 2 different systems at the moment. One's a solar shingle. I haven't had a great experience with the company, but I was going to move forward on that product. And the other one that I'm looking at, because I don't know with the orientation of my house, when we did a solar proposal, I don't have enough uncut up roof structure on south facing slopes. So I am looking at doing a potential carport or shade structure, because I've got 2 parking areas on our property to shade those in. The other reason that I didn't is I don't really qualify. I have some of the cheapest electric rates. I'm already powered by solar. It's community solar. So I'm like tied into the grid through a community solar share farm. So my rates are stupid cheap. My bill's super cheap. So I'm like right on that border. But do I want to go that route? The answer is yes. I will at some point in the future, but I'm just debating whether we go on a brand new full solar shingle, full roof system, or if I go to a shade structure. So I'm on the fence, but the answer is, would I do it on my own home? Now that I know the way I like how to approach this, the answer would be yes.
Let's talk about failure rates in the solar business, because I've actually covered more solar stories recently than even roofing stories, because I see all of these companies, they pop up, they invest a lot of money in them, and then they don't pay guys. I have a lot of subs reaching out to me, roofing contractors who don't get paid by this middleman companies. There's so many players in solar. Everybody's middleman of someone. Explain solar market, explain failure rate among solar contractors.
Yeah, it's a good question. So the reason for the failure rate, this is my understanding, okay? With the whole change in the Fed increasing interest rates, financing companies have changed how they fund projects. So in a company that was built upon a foundation of the minute the last nail's driven in, metaphorically, they get paid, that shifted until the system was turned on, which now you're talking a delay of months. So if the company's not structured to survive cash flow wise, the minute that flip switches, imagine someone going to your company and say, I want you to run the same way, and you've been running like this for a decade, but now you have to wait 3 months for all your receivables. So a lot of the cash flow side of things, it's the same threat with roofing companies. And now, with you mentioning the middlemen, I've heard none of this is like, this is puppets through the grapevine, or the game of telephone tag. So take all this with a grain of salt as a rumor, but I'm hearing that there will be some changes through many of the financing companies, that instead of paying the solar company to then pay everybody, if there's a roofer doing the roof, they're going to do direct payments to the other people. This is what I'm hearing. But at the end of the day, it is a cash flow threat, the same as a roofing company. And I think a lot of folks are just not smart business owners. And it's all the same thing, Dimitri, as roofing. It's poisoned by greed. How do I overextend myself to make money and then all of a sudden look back and say, holy crap, I am stuck, and the amount of money that's owed out is more than they have, and they go under. So that's what I see as the main issue, is strictly down to cash flow concerns. And we're going to see some changes with that, I believe, in the coming months, if not sooner, on the financing side.
Another statistic that I have heard, that cancellation rates are much higher on sales side in solar than roofing. Can you explain that, or can you confirm that, if in fact, because I understand there's a lot of high pressure, people coming in, explaining the math, pressuring them to make a sale, leaving, and then a lot of solar deals actually never get installed after signing contracts.
Yeah, big. So what I've heard anecdotally from one, my partner Cody, and two, folks in the roofing side, folks in the direct mail side, because they're using data. One of the number one reasons for cancellation on a solar system is an old roof. So someone would say, yes, it gets bumped to engineering. They look at it, roof needs to get replaced. It could be city legislation. It can be homeowners that say, hey, we don't want to do this until we get a new roof. So we're hearing homeowners saying, well, I want to wait until we do a new roof, right? Because they're forward-thinking homeowners. But my understanding is the number one cancellation reason is due to a roof problem or needing to replace a roof, and that the solar company is not a one-stop shop. And then the other reason is buyer's remorse. I've had it. Like, I was in a jewelry store to buy my wife Sheena something, and we went through, and I wanted to pick out a new necklace for her. It was kind of a significant event in our relationship, and we went out to this jewelry store, got my credit card out even. I paid for it. I get home and I'm sitting there going, Was that gold? Is that a real diamond? What kind of diamond? What size diamond? I had no clue what we purchased. And I replayed the entire sales experience in my head. And I was like, that felt super slimy and sleazy. And I called the place up and I told them, I was like, I realized like I felt really pushed into this. I have no idea what I got. Like, I'm going to take advantage of this return opportunity. It was a custom order anyway. So I canceled it and asked for a refund. And I think that homeowners are having the same experience where they've been in it, everything sounds good. And then they do their homework and fact check, or they'll look up a solar company and look through the most recent reviews, or they'll see something on the news. They're like, wait a minute, 20-year, 25-year commitment. Does this make sense? So there's a lot of buyer's remorse that occurs from homeowners, again, due to trust and due to roof issues.
How would you sell me a solar system? If you would pitch me, what's your value proposition? How do you do it different?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it depends, and I'll do both. So there's two value propositions, and the timing of the ask is very important. Is it okay if I lay some groundwork?
Yes, please.
Please. I want to lay this groundwork so it makes sense for everybody.
Sure.
There's three big reasons that most roofing companies, and then again, I know that there's some tuning in that are wildly successful with their roof and solar. They run a separate division. But when you run a separate solar division, we have a separate company, separate LLC, separate marketing, separate sales, separate ops, separate everything. The only thing that's the same is potentially the name and the fact that it's in the same building. Competing in the solar space means that your acquisition cost, if you're generating leads, is going to hover between, depending on the competitive nature of the market, $1,800 in the low end up to $3,500, averaging in the $2,000-ish range. That's your acquisition cost, which means if you're closing at 30%, you're spending a lot of money for sits, a lot of money to get down to that kitchen table. If you're paying door knockers those $10,000 commissions, the margins are higher. The sales rep has a lot, because they're commission only and they're getting paid that huge, huge chunk of money. So either way you skin it is massively expensive. Reason number two people struggle is you now get a roofing company with salespeople and you give them this shiny object. Here's a way to go make buku bucks and crazy commissions. And I have a unique perspective because I get to work with tens of thousands of roofing sales reps. And I started to get these messages of, Adam, what should I go out knocking for today? Roof or solar? And I was like, and there's the problem. You can't, what do I lead with? What do I sell today? And if I come to a homeowner and try to sell too much too soon, it doesn't work. So the way that I teach is you have a different value prop for storm than you do for retail. And on the storm front, when we're dealing with an insurance claim, so long as all this is above board, the ask has to be timed at the right opportunity after we get the yes to the roof for both storm and retail. If it is a storm claim, they can, in fact, take that money from the insurance company, put it right in their pocket, become $18,000 richer on an average claim, whatever the number is, to use for whatever they want, whether it's a pool, a kitchen remodel, paying off debt, whatever it is. They can now finance roof solar combo together and usually get within $100 to $200 a month of their current electric bill. So will it be a little bit more than their current monthly expense? The answer is yes. However, home value goes up. The price of utility rates will rise. And for many people to leverage getting 18 grand in my pocket tax free for the exchange of $100 a month increase in my monthly expenses, most people will say, absolutely, let's do that. Right now on the retail front, we time the ask when they say yes to the roof. And then we lead in with a hook. Okay. What if I told you that I could get this monthly investment even lower while also saving you money in the long run and increasing your home value? Would you be interested? And the minute that homeowner says yes to the hook, once we've gone through the whole roof, now we can transition to the solar discussion. You've already sold the company. They already, when I say sold the company, meaning sold the customer on you, the company. You've gotten a yes to the roof. They want to work with you. Now we look at this as an add-on, and the solar presentation is only about 15 minutes as opposed to having to do a full sit. So it's looked at as an add-on. And on the storm damage side, same thing. We wait until we get the roof approved. We get a yes to the roof and we're about to collect that check. Then we can go in for the ask, set the hook, see if they're interested, then transition to the solar sale. And the first thing we do when we transition to the solar sale is sell them on the excitement of why and why now. And the next thing we do is say, here's all the reasons it won't work. Here are the 5 key reasons. And if you find out one of them doesn't make sense, end it, done. Don't sell a solar system to someone who shouldn't have it. And if they do, now we've got the objections out of the way and we can go into the whole presentation.
Got it. Is solar a must in your opinion for roofing company? Like, do everybody has to go right now sign up and offer it?
I mean, the right salesperson in me would be like, of course it is. Come buy my program. But no, do I think it? Do I think it's the wave of the future? The answer is yes. Do I think that there's any downside for a company adopting solar? Minimal, and it's due to the liability exposure of choosing your right EPC or your right installer and having a healthy partnership. We cover all that in our new solar program, like how to find the partner and vet them. But in all honesty, like going through getting into solar with the right model and the right partners and the right education for the team and the company, and doing so in an ethical way, this gives you such a wild competitive advantage against a company who's not offering it. Because even if here's the cool part, average roof in America right now is about $20,000. Okay. That's the whole country. Now, recognize the fact that a roof sold in Southern Texas, the same exact roof sold in California, and the same exact roof sold in Colorado, Minneapolis, and Florida are all going to be different prices. Average 20 grand. Average solar system is about 40. So adding solar to your model allows you to take a $20,000 sale and flip it to a $60,000 sale, tripling your top line revenue. The profit's going to be relatively comparable between the two. So you can virtually double your profit without taking on new customers, without having to do a whole new marketing channel, without having to do all new ops. So when you integrate them appropriately, the salespeople, now you have a recruiting advantage to say, hey, if you sell roofs for them, your average commission's this. When you work with us, we give you these opportunities to do even more. And aligning that interest with the true best interest of the homeowner becomes a win-win. And if you have one homeowner a month that's shopping for solar and it's going to cost you a deal, and there's really no hard cost on getting involved in solar outside of the training, wherever and how you get it, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't get into that, unless you're in one of those markets like you're in Alaska or you're in North Dakota and just no one does it. So very few people, I would say it doesn't make sense. But I will say this, forget what makes sense. There are some companies that are just not going to succeed if their team, if they don't have culture and accountability. In roofing sales, you can get by winging it and talking your way through a sale. You can't do that in solar. It's a more complex sale that requires an artful presentation to appeal to buyer psychology and buying motivators, and delivering the right message in the right order. So if a company is not structured to maintain that level of accountability and have that training and have the integrity on the ops side, I'm going to go ahead and amend my statement. So theoretically, no. From a practical standpoint, the roofing company that's just getting going, the roofing company that's got 2 to 3 reps and kind of trying to figure things out and get their systems in place, I would not go down the solar road. I think it applies to companies that are established with strong leadership, good accountability, and a true servant's heart.
Love it. Guys, we're actually actively looking for solar installers. And just like Adam was in the beginning, we're very skeptical because recommending solar contractors is very hard. But if you believe that you have perfect shop, if you believe that you're reputable roofing or solar contractor and you want someone back up your work, directory.com is looking for solar. It's a big category for us. We're very skeptical. You have to have 4.5 stars Google reviews. We are manually approving every applicant because in the last 3 years, I actually have spoken to so many contractors who had a lot of money in the bank and they still close the doors. And, I'm talking about directory roofers who will call me and say, Dmitry, this guy went out of business, not paying my bills, right? So I recommend roofers, and this roofers not getting paid by solar contractors who's trying to get listed as well. So if you believe that you're the best and the best, I don't care where you're from. We're a national company, right? Canada too. If you want to be recommended by me, please comment below. What do you do? What do you install? How are you different? I want to get to know you. A lot of people think that I hate solar. I don't hate solar. I just have not met enough installers, enough companies to believe in it. Like I met a lot of roofers who, I put my money behind, and there's a lot of shady roofers too, but solar is different. how many systems are out there? How many people who actually do the work? Because in the roofing industry, everybody's sub, everybody's middleman. I've heard in some states there are like 3 or 4 major players and everybody's buying the same panel, and there's actually very few installation companies and the rest is just their dealers. How many players are there?
That's a great question. I know I've got a friend of mine who's partnered with at one point last year, I think 113 solar companies, and that was in like 23 states. So what we're finding, just like in roofing, their production capabilities, when they're taxed, is when things fall apart. So I've heard horror stories from my companies that I work with. They were like, hey, we started getting into solar. We partner with someone. Everything was great. And then one day, I'll never forget the story. A guy says, a dude showed up at a customer's house, looked at the roof and said, I got to go buy a ladder. I actually am a pool installer or a fence contractor. It was some obscure thing. And he's like, yeah, let me go get a ladder. And he literally went to Home Depot and purchased a ladder and showed up back on the job site with a ladder with a tag on it. And the homeowner was like, who the heck is this person? So what we're finding, and we actually, again, cover this in our training system, is how to find the right partner and the key questions to ask, how to vet leadership and how to vet these growing pains and how to monitor those quality installs, because most roofing companies, your reputation's on the line. So a lot of these solar companies are doing their installs in-house, but as solar becomes more popular, as roofers turn into sales orgs and they're drowning these solar installers with work, now they're like, again, greed. Hey, we got to keep up. They can't throttle themselves because they see dollar signs. So they take on the work and then are like, can you do it? Can you do it? Can you get on a roof? And then they'll just throw anyone up there. So I think that's the main issue. But yes, in general, solar companies are installation companies. And they rely on sales orgs. They rely on independent sales reps to feed them deals. And yes, there's a few panels out there. Most people are using the same stuff. What I see it breaking down to is the quality of the company, the pricing, how it's presented, and the installation practice. Because the biggest problem in solar right now is you punch 70 holes in the top of a brand new roof. And then you're relying on someone to pour a bunch of geosil around a hole and hope it holds for 30 years.
I love geocell, but I don't know if I would trust it on my roof with 70 holes. But it is good. What do you think about Texas market for solar?
There are people booming with it down there. So
what would be your advice to someone who just starting in roofing and immediately looking into solar? Like advice?
Stop. Don't. I mean, here, I would say the same thing about anything else. Don't look at, if you've never sold a roof and now you want to be like, hey, I want to offer stone-coated steel and designer shingles, and I'm also going to get into standing seam. You need to master your craft. Go sell a bunch of roofs, learn how the process works. So many people get underwater because they're drowning in too many details. Learn the fundamentals and develop a strong business and a strong base before you start bolting solar on, because at the end of the day, you have to take it seriously. The fact that you are advising someone to take on a 20 to 25 year financial commitment, and they have a liability. You can't just go into this willy-nilly thinking I'll just make money. And greed is what poisons everything. It's what made me want to walk away from roofing 3 times. And solar was the same way that I avoided it like the plague. And now I'm like, okay, I found the model, roof with solar, only presenting it with a new roof. It is truly, I don't think anyone here can argue. And you know what? Now that I said that, we're going to see arguments. So drop a comment if you disagree. I know you're going to say there's an exception. If the roof is 2 to 4 years old, could you? The answer is yes. But if you don't provide parameters for your team to say this is how we do business, without a doubt, and I don't think anyone could argue the best time to do solar is with a brand new roof, period. And providing it otherwise and not communicating the consequences to the homeowner is predatory, criminal, and greedy. This is my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. But that's why I believe putting them closely together is the only way. And there are, even in our training, the one question people always come up with is, well, should I reach out to my past customers? I just did their roof 6 months ago. I just did the roof a year ago or 2 years ago. And I get that. And could you do that? I'll tell you what I teach in our training center. The answer is, can you? Yes. But I would not give that permission to everybody on the team, because what you're going to be doing is training the team, if you choose to use this model, training the team to sell roof with solar. which is different than selling solar on its own. So you don't want to train someone down this path and then like open the floodgates and be like, okay, salespeople, shiny objects, go get it. And then they're going to go chasing these deals and then end up in that confusion pace. So you not pace, confusion place, confusing the homeowners and themselves. Mm-hmm. Grab your database. If you wish to sell them to the customers in the last couple of years, I think it's fair. And I think it should be tasked with 1 or 2 team members who are competent to handle that sale without disrupting the normal flow. Because once you gobble up that pipeline, it's not going to be a thing anymore, So you have to put a lane on what the team can do, or they're going to go rogue. And I've had it happen myself, and it's not a pleasant road to go down.
Love it. Well, Adam, it was absolutely amazing. Guys, I want to keep continuing this conversation in comments below. I promise you, I will read every single comment. Adam probably going to come back, check some of them as well. He asked you to comment so many times. Solar is hot, and I want to know what's going on in the country. I want to know what's going on in Texas. I want to know what's going on in California. I want to know states where it works. We mentioned South Dakota, North Dakota. I want to know if we have players there. Like for me, my interest is I want to find installers in every state. When homeowners come to me and say, Dmitry, can you recommend someone? I want to recommend you guys, but you have to introduce yourself. You have to convince us that we can trust you. Help us to help you sell more jobs. I believe in solar. It makes sense. I mean, how it cannot have sense. I mean, well, like Elon Musk and where we go in the green energy, I mean, financially it makes sense. But it comes down to ethics. It comes down to sales process. That's why Adam is awesome. I'm going to put his information below in top comment, also in description. Check out his program if you're trying to get into solar. It's not for everyone, but be honest with yourself if it is the right fit for you. Adam, thank you so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Adam, you have anything at the end?
Yeah, no, Dmitry, thank you. My closing words of getting into solar, just do right by your customers and sell with heart and give financial advice the way you would to your own grandmother. And you'll be in a good spot if you go down that road.
Awesome. Perfect closing. See you guys in the next video.